What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well and hope you have survived the biggest crypto liquidation in history. Sui got hit very hard. You can see it right here. We have dropped about 84% in a day. We also have had a very strong recovery. Right now we are doing a very nice bounce, and then of course the question is if the bottom is already in. So it doesn't matter if we take this as the bottom or this as the bottom. I will come to this in a second, why there potentially is a difference in that, but doesn't matter what you consider the bottom here. We will take a look into if this was the bottom and if we are moving higher right now. So I would say let's get into this. The first thing is the differentiation between the bottoms, and I'm talking about this in this video because it is important to see the general trend. And if we are taking a look right here, then we can see that in April we have established the low, we have made a high, higher low, a slightly higher high, and here we are coming to the question, okay, if this one right here is the low, we would still be in an upward trend with higher highs and higher lows. But if this one right here would be the low, then you can see that we have broken the upward trend. But right now, let me tell you why personally I would judge it that this one right here is the low that we should consider, because this one right here was a flash crash. And you know, normally wicks are also included, so that doesn't mean that this wick will not be important at some point in the future. I'm sure it will, but for this trend we can say that if we are taking this low right here, and right now let's have a quick look into the 5-minute chart. So yeah, here we can see that we were basically below this trend line. Let's say we count the whole candle in. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. This is about 30 minutes. So for a daily candle and a range of 70, you can, yeah, here we can see it, about 75%, half an hour. This is very little, and therefore, as I said, this was a flash crash, and therefore I would not give this the highest valuation. And in this case I would take the candle close as the low, and in this case this would be right here, and therefore the upward trend would still be intact. But that's no reason to be completely euphoric right now, because the upward trend is still intact. That is just my interpretation. And also there is more to the story. You know, we had a very big drop, and to a very big drop, normally what is following is a very nice bounce to the upside that we are seeing right now. But it's really hard to say if this one right here will turn out to be a V-shaped recovery, or if some people are also calling for that this one right here was the start of the bear market, and that from here on basically we are moving lower. So that is also a potential scenario. And then we also have a third potential scenario, and I want to give you the likelihood of each scenario right now. So we have the bearish scenario, so the real bearish scenario, which means that this one right here is or was the start of the bear market. We are doing right now the bounce back, but let's say for example here at the next resistance we are getting rejected, and from there on we are continuing to move lower because the bear market has just started. This is the first possible scenario, and this has a 10% likelihood. And I can tell you the likelihoods because I have went through every single liquidation event that has happened close to a top in the crypto market since 2011, and there is about a 10% likelihood that this is the case. I will also add some more information in about a minute to this, but first of all let's go just with the likelihood. 10% for this scenario. The second scenario that we potentially have is that we have a V-shaped recovery. This also just has a 10% likelihood, And then we also have a third scenario. You may ask yourself, what is the third scenario? The third scenario is that we have to move to the downside, then we get a recovery, but this recovery will not lead directly to higher highs, but instead we are bouncing around, we are correcting, eventually retesting, okay, this one right here is the low, eventually retesting the lows, potentially even making tiny newer lower lows, and then at some point we are finding the bottom, and then we are ready to move higher. The shortest amount of time that I have seen in the history is 2 to 3 weeks till we find the bottom, and then from there on we are moving higher. This scenario right here has an 80% likelihood, so this has the highest likelihood, and therefore I'm personally also going with this. And therefore the question if the bottom is in right here is a little bit tricky, because in this consolidation stages it happens quite often that we are seeing a lower low. So if we would consider this as the lower low, but in most cases it is not a very big lower low, but just something tiny. Let's say, for example, we need about 2-3 weeks, let's say the 1st of November, that is basically here. That would be a slightly lower low if we would take the trend line here as support level. So some scenario like this has the highest likelihood. If we are saying that this one right here is the low, then I think it is, so then very likely that the low is already in. But if we are taking this one right here, then it's a tricky question because of the reasons that I've just explained to you. And right now let me also add one more thing in regards to the bear market. Because if we are saying right now that at some point in the near future we will see that we are moving higher, that alt season is about to start, and that we are seeing in general higher highs in the crypto market, then we would call for an invalidation of the 4-year cycle. Because it doesn't matter how you measure the 4-year cycle, if you measure it from bottom to top or from halving to top, both cases would lead that October 2025 would be the months where we are about to top pretty exactly on these days that we are having right now. So if you are calling for higher highs, you would say that the 4-year cycle would at least be longer. But also if you are calling for the bearish scenario, so that this event right here has triggered the bear market, you are also calling for that this time it will be different, because that would be the first time that the bear market is starting without the crypto market have hit extreme valuations. So this would also be a change in structure in regards to the 4-year cycle. So it doesn't matter if you are calling for the bearish case or for the bullish case, the cycle already has changed. That's factual. Doesn't matter which scenario we have. As I said, 10% likelihood that this one right here has triggered the bear market, and about the 80% likelihood that we are going right now in some sort of consolidation, 10% for the V-shaped recovery, and therefore I'm going with the highest likelihood, and that is the 80%, so that we are about to do some consolidation right here. I still have my positions in SUI and I'm still looking to add to these positions, but I'm being cautious, and because the 80% likelihood is that we are consolidating and potentially seeing better entry levels, I am waiting for these better entry levels, and then I will stack up on my positions. Of course, if we are doing the V-shaped recovery, at some point we will see some breakouts and we will also see some confirmation in Bitcoin, and then this will change. But you know, as always guys, in case there are any changes, I will upload a new video. And also, where I have touched on the Bitcoin topic, I'm of course also looking into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is leading the way. That means if we are seeing another drop in Bitcoin, we will very likely also see this in altcoins, and therefore I'm still having my eyes on the 112k level. You know, if we are above this level, the general market is more bullish and we have a higher likelihood that we are, for example, bouncing at supports, that we are breaking resistance levels. But Bitcoin right now is attempting to break the next resistance level at 100 yeah, let's round this number 116k, and this could potentially be the first level where we are seeing a rejection from this bounce that we have right here, and where we are potentially starting the consolidation. Eventually we are also going here to the next level, 118k could also be the case, and then we are starting the consolidation. But I will also have a very close eye on Bitcoin, because what Bitcoin does, the market likely will follow. The bounce that we have seen right now is very nice, but currently I'm being very cautious and I keep my eyes open. As I said, if there should be some changes, I will update you. And now also let me know, what is your opinion on this crash? What is your opinion on Sui? What is your potential scenario? Do you saying, for example, we will see the V-shaped recovery even if it also just has a 10% likelihood? Or maybe you have very strong arguments that the bear market has started. Feel free to share them down in the comments. I think they are valuable for all of us. That's it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.